something that I'm really impressed with is that, you were using Baseball Reference, and then you inevitably started working for them as an intern, if I recall correctly. That's something that I personally did with DraftKings. Like, I was using their platform a lot, and then I started. I interned there for a summer, and I think that one of the best possible internships you can get is with a product that you're familiar with. It's probably the lowest hanging fruit because you know the product so well. Can you walk me through that experience and what that meant to you and essentially what it was like?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was funny. I like obviously am a huge user of their website, but for some reason I didn't see the job posting until 2 days before like the deadline day. So I had to scramble to put something together for an internship for that summer. But I applied and I obviously had a lot of confidence going in because I had a really good pitch saying, "Hey, like I bet you out of all of the hundreds of applicants that you have for this position for this internship, like I bet you like you could take the not like the next five people combined, and I probably use your website more than they have combined. So like I have the familiarity with it, and obviously like I know like sports and I have the data background. So I was definitely really confident going to the interviews, and luckily that confidence paid off for getting the job. But basically, yeah, it was a really cool experience. I did some really cool things with just like gathering data and formatting it better for their sites because I think their sites do a really good job of not just having like correct information, which is obviously one of their pillars, but also just having a just huge breadth of information. They have a lot of things that like many other sites don't have. Like the number one source for this piece of information is on baseball reference or football reference or whatever site you're looking on. So I think that the combination of accuracy and detail that they go on was really cool. There's always more out there that they want to add. I got there and here are 10 projects that you could work on. Just do it, whatever you're most interested on. Like finding people who are GMs of baseball teams to put them on the site, or like correcting passing yard data from 1960s from using newspapers. Like there were so many different projects that they had, which was really cool to just be able to see how. Like I definitely took for granted that the information was already out there for me to use when I started my account. I'm like, wow, like this is a crazy amount of work that like someone had to do. It wasn't all the people who work at Baseball Reference. They obviously buy their data from different groups, but someone had to look at a newspaper and put this into an Excel file for this to eventually end up on Baseball Reference website. I think I kind of took that for granted, that the information was all there. So I think it gave me a really big appreciation for that. And then also, I think one of the skills I worked on most at Baseball Reference was using SQL, just because all of their databases are all on SQL, and pretty much any baseball or football or basketball stat that like you could ever ask for is solvable by just some SQL query by using these number of tables. They have game log data, they have like season data, they have just all these obscure different tables that are probably not used very often. But like if you're looking for an answer for a certain question, the answer is all there. It's probably the biggest sports database that probably top three in the world if I had to guess for the just the amount of information that they have in there. So when I knew that I could find all this information and all I had to do was get better at learning how to query in SQL, that was enough for me to over 2 weeks go from not having done much of it at all besides in school to bugging all of the developers. Hey, how do I write this query? Like shout out to Kenny Jacqueline over there because he definitely helped me get a lot better at SQL. He's like one of their baseball developers, but I definitely learned a lot, not just in the appreciation for the stats, but also just like the SQL querying just on a database I was interested in. I think went a long way compared to working with sales databases in classes or something like that. I wasn't as interested in.
Yeah, well, I bet you got pretty good at SQL in that time too. And to me, that hits on another really important point is that it seems like if you're really interested in the data you're using, you're really interested in the task at hand, it's going to be a lot easier to
Yeah,
obsess with the tools and learn about it because it's relevant to you getting the exact information that you want. That's exactly how I essentially was when I was early in my career. Is I wanted to solve this specific problem, and I got really good at using the tools that would help me solve that specific problem. I didn't personally care about. I mean, you might care about like, oh, I want to get really good at SQL, but you were
right.
probably more concerned with, I want to get this exact information and cut it in this way and be able to get this output. And that is an incredible motivator, at least for me, is like, I know this insight or this data point is out there, and I want to be able to make it actionable. I want to be able to seize it, and the tools are what, or like familiarity with the tools are what allow you to get to that point. And just really leveraging or focusing on the end goal is what made me kind of fall in love with the process too, which I think a lot of people, they're just like, oh, they want to get good at data science, right? But without aiming that at something, it's kind of hard to get good at data science or hard to get good at SQL or any of these things because it's so broad.